want you to understand, we tend to believe mum, or the corporate state. And if the World Health Organization says it can't be done, it can't be done. So nobody bothered to address this issue. So, let me go to the next slide. This is what they gave you. They gave you a pair of these glasses to wear. And these magnified the world by about 50%. And the reality is that, from an economic perspective, if you've got that, you get into a cab with a guy like this, say, I'm your taxi driver. I'm your gynecologist. I don't think so, mate. So that was terrible. That was, and I was talking up to Pete Fred-Hives, who said he wanted to do modern cataract surgery and make the little tiny plastic intraocular lens that go into your eye. So if we go to the next slide. And he sent me off to Eritrea. Now, Eritrea had been at war for 30 years with Ethiopia. And unfortunately, you can't see the detail there, but if you could see the detail, you'll see that the wheelbarrow is actually the door of a Fiat 500 car, and the spade is handmade. And this was a country that had nothing, or absolutely nothing. And I arrived there and I was taken out of the airport, and a guy with a Fiat 500 car who had been there since the war, because the Italians were in Eritrea for 40 years, he put my suitcase on the top of the car. That would have been fine if there had been a roof rack. But there wasn't, it was just a dent. And I was looking down the road as we were driving along. Fortunately, there weren't too many bumps, but we just literally pirouetted with the suitcase on the top. Got to the hotel in the middle of the night, and a guy with Eritrean traditional battle dress on, which is basically a jumper and some plastic sandals, had a small torch. And I was the only guest. And they'd obviously done up this one room to get a room that was functioning. And it was one of the most beautiful bathrooms I've ever seen. It had faucets, about 20 faucets, Italian faucets, and a bath, and a big shower, a toilet, and bidet. And it was absolutely fantastic, except when you turn the taps, nothing happened. It was an aesthetic gas. Nothing came out. So I went down to reception and I said, my good man, there's no water. He said, water is coming. And it did. It came about 10 days later in the form of a truck. The truck had come from another village to fill up their tanks so they had water. So for 10 days I was washing with little bottles of Evian water, lying in the bath, just trying to get the crumblies all cleaned out. So there was really nothing in the whole country that was working. And after about a week, I went down, for instance, to the local electrical outlet because I wanted cabling for the wiring of the factory. And I went to the Philips outlet and had a brand new Philips sign. It just sort of been flown in from Ethiopia. And it said, Philips Electrical, all your electrical supplies. And I went in and I said, got the electrical cable? And he produced one reel and reel mechanical and said, yeah, right. I said, okay, I want 30 of those. And he said, I only have one. I only have one. So I knew that the factory in Eritrea couldn't be built. Fred, during that time, had just died. So this was another thing. Fred had died. It was he'd asked me to build a factory because I had experience in designing and building pharmaceutical plants, good manufacturing practice, and was used to working in developing country settings. So, it was a very challenging situation to find yourself in this hotel room with no water and the country that was in total disarray. So I decided to phone Gabby Hollis, very quiet, call her up and tell her that it couldn't be done with the factory in Roadshow, couldn't be built. So I queued for the only working telephone at the post office. And there were about 40 people in that queue. And there was a woman too in front of me, and she had a baby wrapped up in a muslin shawl. And the baby started to cry at one point, so she undid the muslin shawl, and half the baby's face was missing with napalm burns because the Ethiopians just used to come over and bomb the whole place. And I'd never seen war at all in my life. Certainly not up close and personal. So I went out of the queue and went back to my room and thought, well, I'll queue tomorrow. But that night I drank half a bottle of Chilrega's whiskey. And I don't know if it was the whiskey or just the coming together of all of my experiences of life that I decided on a different course of action. And it came to me because some of you may know that I had a particularly challenging upbringing, being brought up in orphanages in the United Kingdom. So I was in an orphanage for about 14 years, and then I ran away and lived on the streets of London for a year. with no air conditioning and no water in the middle of the country where nothing's functioning, the cement works wasn't done. And I thought, if there's any guy on this planet who can survive on the smell of an oily rag, who can do this, it's me. You know, there's nobody else who can actually do this. Who's got technical skills to do it, but moreover, just the bloody mindedness to do it. So I got up the next morning, went down to the post office, phoned Gabby and said, it's going to be bloody difficult, but we'll do it. Next slide. This was what we were dealing with. You can see that was the hotel we were staying at. That was the guy that was my project manager there. And there was a few holes in the hotel. And I've learnt now when you're booking in a hotel in Eritrea, you ask, is there a toilet? Is there a door on the room? But in this case, I forgot to ask if there was a ceiling. Wasted long. And we can get the next slide. Because there were no machine shops or places to go and buy sheet metal, we needed sheet metal and brackets to make air conditioning units for this very highly technical air purification system. So I said to the factory manager that we hired, have you got any metalworking shops? He said, oh, we have the tank graveyard. Because there were about 2,000 or 3,000 armoured cars and tanks in this area outside the city in the field. So he led me off there we're walking across this field, and suddenly he stops. And he says, I'm sorry, Mr. Way, I'm terribly sorry, but inadvertently I have led you into a minefield. And I'm thinking, as a scientist, I've got two problems with this. The word inadvertently and appear to, because, how can you inadvertently lead somebody into a minefield? And if he's not sure we're in one, why are we standing here like this? But the second sentence afforded very little comfort also, because he said, don't worry, I've been in lots of minefields before. God, did the longest 100 metres of my life, I tell you, watching this guy's footprints and walking across. But we found the metal to build the laboratory. Go to the next slide. And in 2004, so this is like nearly 2 years after I first went to Avery, it took the 2-year gig to put in the technology. But now, that laboratory that we built in Eritrea and the successful laboratory that we built in Nepal make approximately 13% of the global market for intraocular lenses. And each of those factories turns over a profit of at least $2 million a year. And they sell their product to 80 countries worldwide. So here we have two of the poorest countries in the world making medical devices that can be sold in any country in the world to world-class standards. Let's go to the next slide. This is what really was the crux of the price of the intraocular lenses used to cost about $300. We needed to collapse that price internationally. Not just so that we could make low-cost lenses, but the multinational companies had held an artificial price cartel, $300 for an intraocular lens. That was a year's salary for a Sherpa in Nepal. So we needed to collapse that price. Coming from a pharmaceutical generic manufacturing background, I was able to know how we could do that from a marketing perspective. But first we needed to be able to make low-cost lenses that work. So I had an idea for how these blades would work and make lenses much more accurately than they'd ever been made before. Traditional lenses used to be made on a lathe where you cut one face, and you take it off, and do it back on the other way. And if these weren't lined up correctly, you'd have thicknesses and the lenses would have to be thrown away. So I worked out a way of making both cuts at the same time. It was some very clever technology. And then I got some engineers to build it, and we were then able to produce lenses that cost us only $4 to make. So then we could sell them at that stage, we were selling them for $15. And we flooded the market with these lenses. And that forced the multinationals to bring their price down and try and meet our price. So we changed the world in terms of cataract surgery. Now anybody can get cheap cataract surgery. We also have to train surgeons, so I wrote the world's first standard operating procedure